Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here with the one and only Lynn Shotwell, President and CEO of Worldwide ERC. How are you doing today, Lynn?
I'm doing great, Ben. Thanks so much for having me.
It is so great to have you here, and I just had the pleasure of seeing you address the North Texas relocation professionals today at lunch.
Amazing group of people. So happy that I finally got to meet all of them. Really
It was only like 3 years in the making, right?
It was. They were the first group that reached out to me when I took this job, and we thought, okay, I'll be there in December 2020. And,
no problem.
Here I am.
What could go wrong? Nice little holiday event, probably. Get in the comments. I want to know what questions and comments you have for Lynn today. Hit that like button. We're going to be talking about conferences, and I have a little teaser here. It's not going to be just one conference this year.
No,
but we're gonna tell you all about it. So you guys stay tuned. Also, we are going to be talking about what initiatives Worldwide ERC is kind of has on the front burner this year, and what kind of they accomplished last year for us. And this is really, really, really important to me. I'm really excited about this. We're going to get right into and I want to make sure I say the survey right. How do I say it?
Transfer volume and cost survey.
Transfer volume and cost survey. How many moves are people going to do, and how much are they going to spend to do it? I mean, that's got to be the most pressing thing on our mind right now is are we going to be up? Are we going to be down? Are we going to be flat? Are they spending more? You know, we always hear about price pressure, good economy, bad economy. Doesn't that always feel like it's the pressure that never goes away? Is the cost pressure?
Right. There's always a reason why we need to cut costs and look at other things. But
yeah, you probably never stood at a dais and said, well, this year actually we're reporting nobody cares about cost, and they're willing to spend a lot more money. So go for it.
I want to be there that year.
Yeah, well, I hope you are there that year. And I hope it's next year. Look, we got people tuning in. Christina. Yes, look at Christina in Mexico here. Scott, great job today at NTRP, he says.
Thank you.
Scott is awesome. Ursula from Queenstown, New Zealand.
Wow. It's the middle of the night there. Maybe
Ursula,
not.
get some rest after this. Ursula, I want to have you on the show. She's got some really cool stuff cooking. Cool. David Nathan from Philly. Eagles. Are you an Eagles fan, David? Anyway, it's all good. Everybody's welcome. It's a very inclusive environment here. Vinny, hi, Ben and Lynn. So great seeing you both. Looking forward to the show. What's up, Vinny Valverde from Portland? Sherry from San Francisco. Sean Luchins from Western Mass. Hit that like button. Get involved. I want to know what questions, comments you have as we go along. Just chime in there. Tom Bruin, very much looking forward to the conversation. Dina from snowy Montreal, very nice. Ashley Jacobs, hello everyone from DC. Look at Adam's playing around with our PowerPoint over here. This is great. Hit that play button. Let's see, Adam. Look at this. This is fantastic. Are we ready to get into it? We're going to start with an audience question here. Should we involve the audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not, right? Let's do it.
I want to know what they think.
Kyle Blaylock checking in from Smashville. That's what's up. All right, let's hop right into it. We have an audience question. So from this amazing study, let's go to the next slide here. It looks like this study, Lynn, is predicting a 5% increase in U.S. domestic permanent transfers.
Correct.
Was that a surprise to you?
It wasn't a surprise at the time it came out because we did the survey last summer.
Oh,
so that was before all of the tech layoffs.
Things were
before
cooking.
Things were moving.
Yeah.
Everybody was as busy last year as they've ever been.
Yes.
So that it was not totally surprising.
Let's ask the audience. Audience, what say you? Do you agree or disagree? Will there be a 5% increase in U.S. domestic permanent transfers next year? Do you think there will be more or less? Let us know. What do you think? Get in there. We're going to give you some time here. I want to do an audience poll. Let's see how many people can answer this here. Lynn Gardner saying, great seeing you both from the Carolinas. Get in there. Let us know. 5% increase, yes or no, next year.
This year, 2020.
2023. I know. Next year's here. Next year's here. This year, 2023. Elena says yes. A big resounding yes. Hello from DC too. Hey, Lynn.
Hey.
Barbara Ebersol, hello from New Jersey. I was just in Jersey last weekend. So we got one yes. Who else thinks yes or no? What do you think? 5% increase in U.S. domestic permanent transfers. Hit that like button as well. Let's see if people look. Vinny says, I think so as well.
Good to hear.
Which is
so
cool, 'cause he's
when I hear
corporate.
Elena and Vinny saying that, it makes me feel good.
When the smart
Right?
people,
When, exactly.
it's like when Vegas
When they
says
weigh
it's going to
in.
happen. Those are the sharps right there. Look at this. Everybody's bullish. Scott Chapman says yes to a 5% increase.
God, what about 10? Anybody
He's
gonna
a
give me 10?
Do I have 10 anywhere? 10 anywhere. Scott, and he's a mortgage guy. Of course, they have nowhere to go but up.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Scott.
But no, but the questions increase over last
Increase
year,
over
not right
last
now.
year. Oh, last year was hot. Let's
Last
see.
year was hot.
Barbara, yes. Barbara's a yes. Everybody's a yes. Tom Bruin, let's see what Tom says. I'd love to say that it'll be going up, but unfortunately, the latest trends do not support that. Well, Tom, it is January. It's like the worst month of the year.
The economic news today was that we may be avoiding a recession. It was
Tell
better than
me
we
about
expected.
the economic news, because all I hear is recession, shallow recession. What are we hearing?
Today, I just read the headlines, but the headlines in the New York Times, the economic news is we may be avoiding a recession. Inflation's coming down.
Yes.
Things look good. So I'm encouraged.
They were trying to achieve a soft landing, and they may actually achieve a soft landing with the interest rates and then curbing inflation.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe government's working for once.
Maybe.
Or is that a bridge too far? All right. Anyway, yes. Chris Louderback, also in mortgage, says yes, 5%. Lynn saying yes, I believe more. Alan saying yes. This is Vinny says, Lynn, don't go crazy. 5% is more than enough. We're not going to 10. Nobody's saying 10.
Nobody wants to work that hard.
Let's not be crazy. Look at this. Balaji saying, tuning in from Dallas, Texas, welcoming Lynn, our president, to Dallas. Balaji, you got to get here in studio, Balaji. He's down the street. You got to pry yourself away from that work. Let's sharpen the saw. Let's come together. All right. So we got a resounding yes.
Which is great. I'm really happy to hear that. So
yeah, because I mean, I think we both kind of look at that number like, that's optimistic.
I wasn't sure. All of that number, that poll was taken before the tech layoffs, before we had some of the changes that we've seen. But yeah, I think that's encouraging.
I have a theory about this, and I think I was going to make a post about them. I'm not sure if I actually posted it or not. But 46% of businesses in the United States are 46% of employees in the United States are employed by small businesses. So when we see, all these layoffs, they're coming from very predominantly the technology sector,
right,
followed by the financial sector, which is also heavily exposed to the technology sector, right? All the funds and everything. I mean, they're all invested in. So, I mean, I feel like this is a bit of a bubble burst within technology, but I feel like it's kind of confined to technology a little bit. And I feel like the rest, it's kind of a correction of a very frothy market over here, but I don't know that it's reflective of Main Street. I don't know that Wall Street is reflective of Main Street, right? You look at the 5,000 companies, 2,400 listed on the New York Stock Exchange, 2,600 listed on the NASDAQ, right, but there's 10 million other companies that aren't listed. So,
and there remains a labor shortage, right? We're still scrambling to try to get talent. Companies can't fill open positions. So maybe it's not so surprising that we're going to see more relocations, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get the talent.
This is great. Hit that like button if you agree. Hit the like button if you don't agree. Balaji saying, "What I miss everything, Balaji," but we're going to catch you up. Stay tuned. Elena, employers are still finding ways to accommodate key talent for retention needs. Hashtag still yes. All right, awesome. Let's move on. Next slide here. This is when we're going to get into the U.S. domestic permanent transfers volume and cost survey, the much anticipated, highly awaited
TVC.
The TVC.
It's a lot easier.
The TVC. Oh gosh, I love it. We got acronyms. This is great. So we got the TVC brought you by WERC ASAP. Let's go to the first slide here. So this one's a little hard to see. So the top line here, you want to tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here?
So what this is it shows the cost for transferring a homeowner versus a renter over time. And we had not done a survey since 2015. So it makes sense that the costs were way up since 2015 to 2022. The top line is the cost for a homeowner. And I think what is it? And $85,000, and then
so it's saying $85,000 in 2022, but it looks like, and is this a projected?
The projection,
jump to
that's
93?
The projection to 93. So again, When we asked people the question about what are your current costs, that's where we got the $85,000 number. And then what are you projecting for this year? So the projection we got was about a 9% increase, and that's where it would be if it's a 9%. Now,
That
again,
is
remember, it's where
fascinating.
inflation was last summer, right?
Yes. So inflation was, trending around 10,
Yeah.
percent. Now I think they've got it down around 5.5 or something
Right.
like that. Right. So it's that soft landing that we're looking for. But this is really interesting to me because you're seeing a 9%, you're forecasting a 9% increase in the cost per homeowner relocation and forecasting a 5% increase in volume.
Right.
So that's a very bullish confluence of scenarios there.
Well, again, I think it goes back to if you need talent, you're going to have to pay what it takes to get that talent
Yeah.
where they need to be.
Yes, 100%. And we're also seeing the renters, it looks like, went from is projecting to go from 33,500 up to 36,500. So that sounds
Right.
like a $3,000 increase, which is all roughly
It is.
10%,
Which is
9%.
same thing again. And I think what's interesting about these numbers is, so if you look at the increase in the homeowners cost since 2015, it's pretty much mirrored what the consumer price index did, right? So over that period of time, the CPI increased about 27%, and this increased 21%. With renters, it's a lot more because the pace of rent increases have increased more than the average rate of inflation over that whole time.
Right.
And as we all know, they skyrocketed in the
Yes.
past 2 years.
They
So
really
that's
did.
where we've seen this now 45% increase since 2015.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm curious how much of these homeowner and renter increases are around the sheer cost of housing, both homes and renters. Now we're starting to see, I'm hearing reports that rents are starting to kind of come down and cool a little bit because they were super hot, just like home prices were over the last 2 years, right? So it'll be interesting to see if that holds. But what I'm also interested in here is it looks like the last time that Worldwide ERC did this, it was 2015, and I remember this. This was such a good. I'm so glad y'all did this again.
Good.
Because I used to, when I was selling moving, right, to corporations and RMCs, and I'd go in and I'd have my my little statistics from Worldwide ERC, and people thought I was so smart, and I'd have it in my sales deck, and I'm like, y'all are spending this on that, and how much of that is moving, and here's what we can do from a cost saving standpoint for you. And I thought I made a pretty compelling case, but it was thanks to the data provided by Worldwide ERC. So I'm really happy that y'all are doing this.
Well, we're happy to do that. And now if you were doing it, we have infographics in our research library. So if you're a member, you can go in, download these easy to read slides and plop them right into your presentations.
Very cool. And speaking of that, Adam, our producer, is going to go on the Love and Relo page and put the link to this study for all of the Worldwide ERC members. So you can go to the website. You can find, if you're a member, you gotta be a member, right? Not just anybody. Okay. You get a little taste for free over here. Okay. But you got to be a member. This is cool. Hit that like button. I want to know what questions you have and what comments you have. We got Mike Falia checking in, the president of the Southern California group as well there. I think you're still president, Mike. Let me know. Tyler Eschel. Look at, he's saying across the street in McKinney. Glad to be here. This guy's joining the company. He's I just relocated somebody for work. A small business just relocated somebody from Virginia to Dallas.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And are we going to talk about your policies later?
We can talk about my policy. And you know what? And if y'all are watching right now, I have a special treat for you. This is called me eating crow and apologizing to Jack Jampel all at once. I gave him I'm going to stop short of saying lump sum. I'm going to say a miscellaneous expense allowance. I gave him a miscellaneous expense allowance to get here. And that covered his travel. He was not moving household goods, so it was an appropriately tailored policy. I think it was responsible. It was a good steward of company funds there. Yes,
you appropriately balanced that cost savings with managing the employee experience.
And he, and I'd love to hear, Tyler, what was your experience? How was it? Remember, you have not yet started, and you are on probation. Just kidding, Tyler. Next slide. So this is where we're gonna have some fun here. We're going to go through all of the categories, and I'm going to give you the first one for free because it's pretty easy here. Okay. So we actually went through, and Lynn provided us all of the top 14 categories for a relocation spend and we've given you the average cost for that service line. And I want to know what people think the next one is. So the first one is home sale assistance at an average spend of $36,910. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And the home sale assistance, correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, but that is to offset the real estate transaction fees like the realtor commissions, closing costs, stuff
Yep.
like that,
Stuff
right?
like that. Yep.
Stuff like that. Okay, great. And those realtors earn their money. Speaking of which, we got Tim Nowak here, an amazing realtor. Greetings from Denver. Glad to see you on the show, Lynn. Fantastic. Does anyone care to guess what some of the next categories? What do you think the most expensive service line is?
Well, maybe we should give them some of the categories, and then they
Should
can
we
kind
give
of
them some of the
I mean,
categories?
well, yeah.
You're
just
so
give them
nice.
a couple.
Lynn is way nicer than I am, people. You're very lucky.
So other things include things like home purchase closing costs, household goods shipment, spousal support, temporary living, loss on sale, a couple of the other
taxes,
taxes,
just straight
right?
up offsetting, grossing up.
Home finding trips.
Yes. Look at this. Scott Chapman coming in. Loss on sale assistance, a little over 31 grand is my guess. Scott Chapman.
Somebody's downloaded the report.
Somebody is a member of Worldwide ERC and has accessed the data and has studied. Look at Scott.
That's great.
Mark Robb, normal for a home around 450,000. You know, that's interesting. Did y'all get into like average home sizes and things like that for these?
We did not.
Okay.
No.
But you could probably back into it to Mark's point, right? So if you have closing costs plus an average realtor commission of like, say, I guess 6%, 3 and 3.
Yeah.
You know, I think, right? You know, so then I think that's probably where he's going. Mark, let me know if that's what you think. Balaji says moving of household goods. It's probably up there. Look, Jody coming in from Carter saying household goods, tax, temp living. Jody, is it in that order? We got a LinkedIn user saying temp living. See, people are having fun with this.
Yeah.
Does anyone care to guess what of those 14 things, what is the least funded or the least expensive? That's kind of hard. I'm gonna give you a hint. Who's always kind of the last to be considered in the process here? Look at Chuck White. Chuck, we love Chuck, president of IAM here. Chuck says, I'm in the wrong business. Chuck, you might have a future in real estate. We'll make you a realtor. We'll get you your CRP. You'll be off to the races. Ursula, can't forget the tax. There we go. Very cool. Mark Robb. Mark's from an RMC there. Just saw Mark at NTRP. He says average cost, including closing costs, is around 7.5% to 8% of the home value. Ooh, Balaji.
Okay.
Balaji is Johnny on the spot. Look at this, Balaji. He says cultural training, he feels like, is the least considered. Did cultural training make the list?
That's not even the top 14.
It's not even the top 14, but so technically he's right, because if it's not even the top 14, it didn't make it.
Then it maybe is less, yes.
Uh-oh. People are smart. Look at how smart we are. He says cultural training, least expensive. Yeah. Jody Lindemann says spouse support, DS, destination services, and cultural. Was DS, destination services, on the list?
Not on the top 14.
Oh, so it could have been
I think
also.
that's right. So
And John saying spousal support. Mark saying online language lessons. Yeah. You know, and in fairness to Mark, the online language lessons is typically a benefit only allocated to international transfers. This is a domestic transfer study.
US, yep.
And that's probably why you're not seeing cultural, you're not seeing destination services, and you're not seeing language
And
on
it's
the
permanent
list.
transfers.
Permanent transfers, yeah. Let's go through the list. Y'all want to go through the list? Hit that like button. Let us know if you're surprised. Let us know if we're spending too much money in one category or not enough money in another. Let's go through the list here. All right, number 2. Loss on sale assistance, $31,125. Loss on sale assistance. That's interesting to me.
Well,
because I thought the market was just doing
I
this.
was going to say the same, right? So I would think that in this last market we've had that there wouldn't have been a lot of loss on sales, but certainly, obviously there was.
Yeah, maybe after
so
those real
that's the
estate
question.
commissions.
Yeah.
No, but that would be double digits, so that would fall in a different bucket. What do y'all think about loss on sale assistance? Is that surprising to you out there? Yeah, see Chris Lauterbach saying loss on sale. When did they buy? 2 days before and turn around and have to
Right
sell it
before.
again.
Yeah. Or maybe it was at a certain level, maybe those really expensive homes. I don't know.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Sean Luchins is asking, did Tyler get cultural training to live in Texas? Very funny. Sean highbrow, very funny. John is saying pet transportation is one of the least funded. John, you might be right, but again, that is, I think, more of an international benefit, possibly.
Or it could just be covered under miscellaneous. Like some of those.
Good old miscellaneous expense allowance. You know, it's growing on me.
Yeah.
I was very adamant. I was a very anti-MEA guy for a long time. It's growing. John saying depends on when they purchase. Mark says yes, surprising. Elena, are we still doing loss on sale? That's so 2000 and late. That has been eliminated from any programs. Yeah, it's kind of fishy, isn't it, Elena? I wonder what these transferees are up to. You got to watch those transferees,
Right. I mean, and it could have been a few, right? That skewed the data. I don't know for sure. We'd have to go back and look.
For sure. All right, let's go to number 3. Let's see if this one's surprising to us. What's number 3? Household goods shipment. Household goods shipments. 16,465.
So what size house would that cover, Ben?
Oh gosh. I mean, again, it depends on the distance.
Yep.
And it depends on the accessorials. So for instance, so an automobile would be included in that, right? A lot of policies will do one auto for over 400 or 500 miles. So it depends on that. It depends on crating and things like that, right? So how many flat screens do you have? How many glass top tables do you have? Things of that nature. But let's just, and how much storage do you have? Are they getting 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or no days? But I think the average storage is like 30 days is typical, I think. So I'm going to guess that is a home of an average size of a 3-bedroom home, because you're going to have a lot of apartments in the mix and you're going to have a lot of executives, right? And I think you see a lot of 4 or 5 bedrooms, and I think you see a lot of 1-bedroom apartments, right? And so
that's how we get that makes sense as an average.
Look at Charles White. Chuck saying, need to get that household goods number up. Well, Chuck, Chuck, check it. In fairness, and I don't, people can fact check me on this, and if you fact check me, I'll be very impressed. But I believe when I used to put these numbers in my sales presentations, I think I was using 2014 or 2015 data. Or maybe it was 15 for the 14 year. I want to say the average number was 12,500. So let's just assume I'm right, which is pretty much the premise of the show. It went up $4,000
with inflation. That makes sense.
A third over over 8 years.
Well, and these also should have reflected all of the huge cost increases we've had over the past couple of years. That's also in there. Huge
cost of labor in the household goods sector is huge.
Yep.
So it used in when the old survey came out in 2014, 15, help was being paid about $100 a day. Now help is being paid $200 to $300 a day. So I mean, you're talking about more than doubling.
Yep.
Also, the cost of cardboard, paper pulp, liner board, those prices have shot up. In fact, to Chuck's point about getting those numbers up, I mean, we have fuel surcharges, which basically make fuel a pass through, kind of keeps you whole, right? Keeps the driver whole. But there are no surcharges around around labor. There are no floating kind of surcharges around the cost of cardboard. An average shipment uses 150 cartons, let's say 150 cardboard boxes on a household goods shipment for a 3-bedroom house. When that cost triples, quadruples due to the Amazon effect, if you will, due to e-commerce, how do we recoup that? When the price of rubber tires goes up, how do we recoup that? So I think it'd be really interesting, and I go off on my little house of goods tangent because somebody's got to do it, right? But I mean, why not have a index tied to the either national minimum wage or the minimum wage in the state or the unemployment rate? So when the unemployment rate is 3.5%, you should have a labor surcharge, in my opinion, to account for the fact that you are inevitably going to be paying those workers more. So That's my soapbox, Lynn.
Okay, I'll let you. Yes.
Thank you. People are saying 3-bedroom house. Yes. Elena's saying yep, and that does not include storage, I bet. Interesting. Jamie Massler, corporate housing in the house. Always love to hear Lynn speak.
That's nice.
Well, that's a Steeler fan, so take that with a grain of salt. Okay, Lynn. Charles White, I just want to be sure my members can pay their dues. Chuck's got a conference to fund too here, apparently. That's great. Danny Herskowitz, hey, Ben and Lynn, saying hi from New Jersey. Charles White says surcharges. I did that with the Allen Iverson practice voice. Surcharges. We're talking about surcharges. All right. What is number 4? Federal tax liability, $14,289. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that is why the moving expense tax deduction is our number 1 legislative issue this year. Yeah.
Yes.
Really important that we get that restored.
Yes. So for those of you out there who don't know, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, I believe it was, by the Trump administration, which lowered the corporate tax from 35% to 21% effectively, eliminated a lot of itemized deductions such as the moving tax deduction, moving expense deduction.
Wow, I'm impressed. Yeah.
I'm smarter than I look about some things, but everything else I'm not. But anyway, that had a material impact on our industry because all of a sudden now all of these things are taxable benefits. They're going to end up on your pay stub at the end of the year, right? So your moving cost of $16,000 is now taxable at your personal income tax rate. Your corporate housing 90-day stay in furnished apartment, which we haven't even got to, but I'm bet it's coming soon, is taxable to you. So all those things are taxable now to you. And now your company, of course, if they're good and they're making you whole and everything, is going to gross up, your benefit and your check to offset that, and to the tune of $14,289. And to Lynn's point, I mean, it's imperative.
It is.
We work on this.
It's the number 1 thing I've heard about since I took this job. And last week we met with our policy forum leaders and we listed all kind of 20 of the issues we've been working on. And that clearly came out as our number 1 priority.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because this took effect, 5 years ago, and it's going to sunset in another, 25?
Well, it's supposed to sunset in 2025, but look, our government needs money. So do you really think they're going to let it sunset?
Oh, yeah.
We need to be in there arguing again.
We have to be. Yeah, we can't wait until Q4 24 to start beating the drum. We have to start making an issue of this now. And it's good that Chuck White's over here watching too, because Chuck, we got to do something about this. Chuck's already planning his retirement, but we got to do something. Brian LePro, we got to do something about this. So I know you're circling the wagons on that. We're gonna talk about
work
this
with Chuck and Brian on this.
Yeah. For sure. And everybody else.
Because we can.
CHPA, I mean, all the associations that handle managed relocation are impacted by this.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about some of those initiatives too. If y'all hang in there, hit that like button, throw your comments in here. Tandra Chester says, I agree, Ben. Thank you. I needed that. Words of affirmation are my love language. Thank you so much. Mark Robb says, everything is taxable today. Remember the good old days, Mark, when you can move somebody and didn't create a taxable event for people? Mark saying the only tax break is properly run home sale programs like the GBO, AVO, and the BVO. That's a wordle.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we need to now figure out how we go explain that to members of Congress.
Honestly, I don't know that I could define all of those terms. So how do we make this simple for people?
How do we make it simple? How do we help them understand that this really is a damper on the economy and doesn't do anything to help?
Yeah. I mean, it's also about making the macro case for mobility too, as an economic stimulant, right? The fact that moving people around, getting the right people in the right place to do the right thing is an economic stimulator. And we have to make the case for mobility too, I think. And then once they understand that we are to be taken seriously and listened to as an economic driver, then I think we also raise our influence. I think
absolutely. We need to be seen as an industry and have the same kind of voices like when the pandemic hit and hotels could say number of hotel rooms, our vacancy rate went from X to Y, number of hotel nights that we have every year. We need to be able to talk about that with what we do with mobility. Yes,
100%. We got to, we got to get the immigration folks involved too. I mean, we got to get everybody involved. Marianne Passy, thanks for the shout out for CHPA, Ben. Yeah, man. I mean, we're all working together on this stuff, right? Super cool. Ursula says we've never had a moving expense deduction in Australia for the individual. Expenses paid by a company have some company tax exemptions. Right. So the company, right. So if yeah, so does it become a business expense basically if I pay for a move or something? It's just a non-taxable business expense. I mean, effectively, that's kind of the same thing, right? I mean,
Right.
and that's what happened. So when it used to be like that here in the States, companies were paying for the move, they were paying for the corporate housing, and then when it all of a sudden becomes not advantageous for the company to pay for it, then they shift the burden over to the employee and they say, "Here's your lump sum." And so what was a lump sum wave that was being driven by employee choice and predictability for budget purposes and things of that nature, all of a sudden had a hard and fast tax like number on it. And now it's like it kind of was like a nail in the coffin thing. So we got to pry that nail out of the coffin. I think we're not dead yet. That should be your platform
Not
for
dead yet.
2023. Not dead yet. All right. Anyway, no, let's have some fun with this. All right. Number 5, cost of living support, $11,798.
So people must be moving from low cost to high cost places, right?
Yeah, which is
For the most
also
part.
kind of counterintuitive because what we heard the narrative we heard in the pandemic was everybody was fleeing everybody's moving to Nashville, or everybody's moving from the Bay to Denver or Idaho or Texas or Arizona.
But they were doing that on their own, right? So is this
Ah.
what it's taking now to get people back? I don't know.
Oh, so they moved to Nashville, but now it's like,
Maybe.
come on
Come
back
on
to
back,
Jersey,
please.
come on back to New
We need
York.
you back here, right? We're calling you back to
Oh,
the office. You need to
yes.
come back.
And we're willing to support it to the tune of 11,798. Is this a surprising number for you out there? Cost of living support. I don't know. I didn't expect this to be number 5.
What'd you think?
I
Where would you
thought
put it?
temp living. I
Temp
guess I
yeah.
didn't even think about this. This is like kind of what is it, like a COLA adjustment kind of thing. I think of this more as a international thing. Like, I'm moving to London and the price of milk is like $20. I don't think of this as a domestic thing, but I don't know where my air anchors are and my data people out there are. Love to know what you think out there. Jose is saying not surprised at all. Well, Jose is smarter than me. Mark Robb, Texas and Florida had highest population growth in 2022. So maybe they're being recalled from those states.
Could be. And just the cost of housing went up so dramatically. So maybe it helps offset some of that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where Elena's going. Wait now, Nashville is not that cheap anymore. Texas ain't either.
Yeah.
If things have kind of equalized a little bit. It's kind of when there was kind of more of a free market for labor and people kind of go wherever they want. And then it kind of became this like kind of a more normalized cost of living, I think, within the country, which is interesting. Ursula saying grossed up lump sum, I hope. Yeah, I mean, you hope, but companies that don't have mobility programs, and we'll talk a little bit about this, aren't sophisticated enough to even know if I give this person $5,000, they've incurred a $1,500 tax impact.
No, they're not thinking about that at all, right? They're doing what you did, which is here's a check, get yourself to where you need to be and not thinking about it.
If y'all connected the dots, Lynn basically just called me an unsophisticated mobility program. It's fine. I've been called worse. probably on the latter half of the show it'll be worse than that. No, but yeah, I mean, well, and also frankly, like if I don't really have it in my policy and they don't really ask for it, like
unless you've done this a lot, you don't know on either side. The employee doesn't know what to ask for, the employers are not sure what to offer, and because this is complicated, and I think that's where we all know that the rest of the world doesn't.
Well, and that's why you join Worldwide ERC, and you know that now.
Yeah.
I mean, the level of sophistication when I go to a SHRM conference and talk to HR generalists and just the general HR population, where it's everything from a one-person practitioner to one specialist and a group of 100 people, 90% of the people I talk to at that conference, which I consider like the general HR population, I talk to 2,000, 3,000 people, ask them the same question. What do you do for mobility? 90% of the people, or what do you do for relocation more specifically? 90% of the people say, oh, we don't do that.
No, but yet when the pandemic hit and you had CEOs saying, oh, anybody can work from anywhere, nobody was thinking about these implications other than us, right?
Yeah.
So that was a great opportunity for some of our members to shine, to show their expertise about, wait a minute, you need to think about all these issues.
Yes.
But if you didn't have somebody in mobility in your company at that point, I think there's still so many companies just figuring this out.
Yes, 100%. Oh, this is great. We got some great comments coming in here. Gary Connerly, a lump sum benefit is like a gift card. It tells the employee you care, but not enough to figure out what support they really want. Oh, Gary, thank you very much. I'll send you a gift card. Mena, we usually use a benchmark approach, which means that what applies for local will definitely apply for any expat move. Interesting, Mena. What percentage of your moves are local versus expat? I'm curious if that's more of a culture of your program, where if it's expat heavy, then local is the exception versus the other way around. Just curious. Let's go to number 6. Temp living. That's
Marianne's. That's Marianne's issue.
What do you think about those numbers, Marianne? Got to get them up. They high? They low? Thoughts? Well, temp living. I think the average temp living. This is interesting to me. This is high.
Why? But people had to stay in temp living longer last year.
I bet the length,
because I think that was I don't know if that's the result, or the cause, but I think that makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Marianne, help us out here. Any of our corporate housing folks, Jamie, I see a bunch of folks in here from corporate housing. Hit that like button and let us know what we're looking at here. Mark Robb saying 90 days. I think that's the average. Well, you guys, average, median, what are we talking about? Standard, typical, what you recommend? Define that for me, Mark. Marianne saying temp living is both a product and a service. That is very true. She loves that line. That's a great line. We're seeing the average LOS, is that length of stay, going down a bit. You got KPIs, LOS going down a bit. We're seeing the average going down a bit. What, this year over 22 or 22 over 21? We say going down a bit. I'm kind of curious what that means.
I will let Marianne answer that. I don't know.
Marianne's on a delay too. Typical would be 30 days, I would guess. Yeah, it's all by program and policy, and what is the, where are you moving to? Also, how hard is it to find permanent residents?
Exactly. I heard a lot of stories about houses. They were supposed to be ready and built, but we all know the construction delays, meant that you couldn't get in and move in as much as you want. So I think maybe what Marianne meant by it's going down is some of the supply chain issues are normalizing. So you can get into places a little more easily than maybe you could, even last year.
Yep. Marianne saying rents are insane everywhere, so that cost needs to be passed along. The work I've done with corporate housing companies, the average stay was around 45 days. The most common was 30 days, but then you'd have some 60s and some 90s. Right. Occasionally you'd have like a 1 year, but that was rare. Again, it's by industry and by program type. Temp living, is this a number that's going up or down? She's saying the rents are going up. So, and furniture, the cost of furniture went up due to supply chain delays and things of that nature as well. And then there's a demand issue with all the domestic stuff that just kind of like flooded over the last year and a half. I think that drove prices up a lot.
Absolutely. Too. I think so. There was an article in the New York Times this morning just talking about the cost of rent and how much it's eating into everybody's budgets for Americans, right?
Yep.
So
yep.
It's huge.
Super interesting. Marianne's like, I'm typing as fast as I can. Year over year, inventory is tight. Our member companies are needing to get creative to find housing options to fit the needs out there for sure. All right, interesting. Moving on to 7. We'll probably go through the back 7 a little faster. Home sale incentive bonus. Now, what in tarnation is that?
So that is a bonus provided if the home is sold within a reasonable time frame. So my guess is that's the incentive to price your home to sell, not to price your home to see if you, right?
Yeah, right. Well, and I think it's especially common where the company has skin in the game.
Exactly.
Where the company is like, it's on them if you don't.
If they're going to buy it after a certain amount of time, so what's your incentive to not set it way high?
Right, because then they're going to be carrying it. Right,
yeah.
Exactly. That caught me by surprise. I didn't, this is one of those things you learn when you're getting your CRP, and then you forget the day after you got your CRP. For us movers out there, it's some of those things you cram, and then you forget. What do y'all think out there? Does this make sense? Home sale incentive bonus. Is this something that's going away? Is it getting more prevalent? Love to know what your thoughts are on that. Sherry's digging it. A short and simple yes. Let's go to number 8. Miscellaneous expense allowance, the slush fund, the make it happen.
The slush fund, the really important to satisfy the employee experience.
The
right?
grease that makes the wheel turn here. The MEA. Interesting. What do y'all think about this number of 7,800? Let me ask you this. Is this also code for lump sum? Like, are people offering just this and calling it like how I was playing? I was kind of joking before, but I basically just offered a miscellaneous expense allowance. That's all I offered. And I didn't want to call it a lump sum because I have personal pride, but like, it basically is the same thing. And I'm wondering, if we took a look at the average lump sum out there, I bet you it could be close to that 7,800 number.
I would ask the audience.
What do y'all think about that? Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Let's play. Yeah, let's play a game. Is Ben crazy? Is $7,800 is MEA code for lump sum, and is $7,800 what you think the average lump sum would be, or do you think it's
seems low
higher
to me?
now? Yeah, but you know what?
Low.
It does seem low, but I'll tell you what. When you factor in these new grads, like, so my sister graduated with a petroleum engineering degree from Oklahoma. She went to work for, I'm going to say it, Schlumberger. Okay. She got $1,500 and told to show up in a week. And it was in the middle of summer.
She's probably thrilled, right?
She
$1,500 for a new college grad?
It couldn't get and they couldn't even get a U-Haul.
Oh, okay.
She couldn't get a U-Haul from Norman, Oklahoma to Houston in the summer with, what is it? Like a 2-3 day rental or whatever of it, plus fuel. And maybe a one-night hotel. She couldn't even pay for it. And then, oh, by the way, she was going to be taxed on that amount.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a rough time. So, I mean, I'm just kind of curious what y'all think. Mark says, no, this is to cover things the policy doesn't provide for, pet relocation, etc. Yeah, I know what it's supposed to be for. Vinny says, Ben is crazy. MEA, the allowance that gives flexibility to employees' family. But lump sum's not on here. Just saying, like, what if your policy is lump sum, and how do you answer this survey, and are you putting it in the MEA? Brad says MEAs are a critical component of any relocation policy. Their effective use can prevent exception lists, which have the potential to cost great amounts of money. It is not code for lump sum. Brad, did you cut and paste that from an RFP? I love you, Brad. He says LinkedIn says low. Gary, some will confuse the two terms, but MEA is not lump sum. 7856 is way high for an MEA and low for a lump sum. Way high. The average MEA, 7856, is way high. I think there might be some lump sum data mixed in there. I'm just saying. Vinny's saying MEA depends on the level of employees. Some companies have a cap amount, i.e. 1 month's salary up to 10K. Some do not have a cap. I think we hit a nerve.
Wow.
People are just typing. All of a sudden, people found their keyboards here. Elena, so Ben, why are you always bringing up lump sums into this? What do they do to you? Lump sums would be more anyway. She knows. Elena knows I'm triggered by the word lump sum here. This is great. And MEAs are a critical component of a relocation policy. Effective use can prevent exception requests. Yeah, but is exceptions the worst thing in the world? I mean, stuff happens. All right, number 9, home purchase closing costs. Interesting.
Right. So the flip side of the home sale, which was number 1,
is the home purchase closing cost. What does that include? Like a mortgage?
Your closing costs, right? Your mortgage origination fees. I don't know if there's points.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Love to know thoughts on that one. We'll keep it moving here. Look at people. This is great. Somebody says, Ben, you're way smarter than most of the people on here, so I agree with you. LOL. You're just giving me the benefit of the doubt. That's sweet. I appreciate you. I'll take it. Brad saying no cut paste here. 26 years. I love you guys. This is great. I love it's getting feisty. All right. Let's move on here. Number 10, final move relocation expenses. That's interesting. How is that defined?
Right, so that's what it takes, I think, to get the family there. So it's your airfare, your ground transportation, what it takes, your meals, everything to kind of finally get there and get settled.
That seems about right. Let's go to number 11. home finding trips. So that's the trips during,
That's the trips to go. Yeah.
which
go
makes
look
sense
for
that
home.
it's about the same as the other one.
Right.
Okay. Very good. All right. Number 10, number 12, duplicate housing assistance. This one's kind of interesting to me.
Right. So this is to cover homes in both locations, and would love to hear from the audience kind of, what are the situations where you see that? And I would
Yeah.
think, there could be obviously periods of time when you own 2 homes and you don't want to pay utilities in 2 places
Yeah.
or insurance in 2 places. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
And people are coming over here with this, with the closing costs on the home purchase assistance. Mark saying normally 2% of the loan amount. Vinny saying normally about 2% of the customary closing costs, application fees, appraisal, survey fees, attorney. People know their stuff.
They do.
Vinny, I just
great.
thought you were a good time, Vinny, but you're smart too. Look at this. Ben, sounds like you need to go back and study your CRP materials. That's great. That is so great. Corinne saying the broker compensation has been uncoupled. Home purchase benefits will be important and can help cover a buyer's agent and destination. Thank you, Corinne. Oh, y'all are so smart out there. Great. Number 13, lease cancellation assistance for breaking your lease.
Right?
Easy.
Break your
Yep,
lease.
no problem. Let's see here. I wonder if that's a month. Is that 1 month, month and a half, 2 months? I wonder what's typical. Is it usually 60 days notice to break a lease?
I don't know. I
60
guess
days, 2 months.
I was thinking 30 days,
30
maybe.
days.
So that seems maybe that's about right for a
Yeah.
1 bedroom. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. It seems a little high for 30 and a little low for 2. Anyway. All right. Next 14. The last one is spousal support. A lot of you got this one. Spousal support 2163. Those poor spouses.
The number 1 reason assignments fail is that the spouse is unhappy and the
Isn't that
family's
crazy?
unhappy, right?
Are we putting
And
our
then
money in the
are we
wrong
putting it in the wrong
spot?
place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that? Do you, Lynn made a comment here, and I think it rings true for me. The number 1 reason an assignment fails or a relocation fails is the spouse is unhappy or the family's unhappy. Does that ring true? And do you think we should
This
be
is
doing
domestic
more?
too. So that, it's a little different, I think, when you're transferring internationally, because you've got to get the visas and all of that in place. And
Sure.
you've got to help maybe provide a little more cultural assistance with how you locate
Sure.
a job. But I would think it's true domestically too, right?
Well, and I think also that's kind of the trap we fall into, is thinking, well, it's just going from Indiana to Dallas. I mean, it's the
Right.
same language, but people still can have culture shock, and you can still have the feeling of, where did my friends go? I mean, you told a very compelling story today at NTRP, right? Because you
Right.
moved around a lot.
I
as a
did.
kid,
I moved
right?
around a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was saying that I moved for the last time at the end of 9th grade, and it was awful. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm very passionate about the scholarships we give to kids who
Right.
have moved in high school.
Yes. Very, very,
Yes.
very cool. Michelle saying many spouses can work remotely now, so it may not be needed as much. Mena says happy wife, happy marriage, happy life. Yep.
Yep.
Brad saying 60 days is typical for lease termination. And Mike Filia corroborates my Vinny is a good time. This is great. I love y'all out there. Can I just tell you, I love y'all so much. Thank you for getting on here, getting in those comments. Hit that like button. We've only got about 12 minutes left here. Let's see what we got next here. Let's talk about Worldwide ERC's key trends and initiatives. That was a lot of fun, and I think that's really useful information. And anybody that wants access to that study, Adam did put a link to it on the Love and Relo page. You do have to be a Worldwide ERC member, so you can click into that. And if you have a member, you should find it right away. And if you're not a member,
join.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Awesome. So let's get into key trends and initiatives at Worldwide ERC. First thing, let's talk real quickly. What are y'all doing around immigration? What are you seeing, and where's the association play with that?
So immigration has popped up as one of the top pain points for companies, right? And if we can focus just first on the U.S. Not enough visas available. We have employees waiting decades for green cards. Now with these layoffs, you suddenly have a situation where you have talented people that have 60 days to find a new job. Really awful stuff.
I'm really concerned about the brain drain in the States with folks who just have to leave and they have 60 days.
They have to pick up and leave. or the company has to find them a job overseas if that's the case.
Right.
But then now the government wants to charge more money. So they've proposed significantly raising the fees for all immigration petitions.
How much? I've heard about this, but I don't really know. Is it like double or?
I have heard up to 65% in some cases,
Okay.
but I have to say I don't know for sure. So one of the things we're doing is reaching out to some of our colleagues in other parts of Washington, D.C., other business associations that are commenting on this, and we're trying to figure out how we can lend support to their efforts. I don't know that we'll be successful in convincing the government not to increase fees, because the fees are supposed to be charged actually cost them to process a petition.
Right.
But I think we can at least raise it, and we can try to say, like, at least if you're raising our fees, can we get better processing times? You know,
Well,
so it
yeah,
doesn't
if we're
take
paying more, can we get better
can,
service?
can we get better service?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we talked about the government is looking for ways to get revenue to offset costs. You know,
Right.
labor costs have gone up everywhere in every sector.
They've got, and
You
it's
know?
been, and to be fair, the government only raises fees every so many years. They have to do a study, and then they
Mm.
propose the fee increases. But
Mhm.
these seem extraordinarily high.
Okay. All right. What else are we looking at? Data privacy. Real quick about data privacy.
So, you know, right now, one of the big issues, and this seems like one of those no-brainers in Washington. So there's legislation that's been pending for a number of years to protect the personally identifiable information of people on manifests. And this
Mm.
really would apply and particularly protect people in the military. But
Yes.
yet we can't get it through. It's
Wow.
always kind of there circling around legislation, but it's never been pushed. So we're going to continue to push for that because it just makes sense.
Yeah, I was hearing something about a lot of federal employees that had like their social security number being used as like an ID
Yeah.
number on that. You know, we should really be better than that. All right. Next, moving expense tax deduction. We kind of teased this earlier in the show. What is the role of the association? What can we do, Lynn?
So look, if we want to get this, make sure that this doesn't continue after 2025, that that it truly does sunset, then that's going to require us as an industry to come together and find a champion in Congress who's in there speaking out and watching out for our interests. So we're working with, IAM, ATA, others to try to do that, to try to find those champions. But what it's going to take is I need everybody's help here.
Yes,
we
we're
can't
talking
do
to
it on
you
our
out
own.
there. Yes, we need all
Right.
your help.
We need companies. So share your stories, share your data. If you have information about how this has impacted your program or your employees, we need to know that so we can then make this real and go to Congress and try to convince them that this provision really does need to sunset.
So we're looking for the business case for how this hurts
Yep.
our growth as an industry, but also economic growth for the country. And we need access to people in Congress.
We do. So if your CEOs happen to be golf buddies with a member of Congress, good to know that. We need to find champions.
I mean, unfortunately, that's how things are done sometimes.
Right. Well, and I think what's interesting about this industry is we have a lot of companies that have not traditionally been really active in Washington. They haven't been up there lobbying, having their voices heard, and we need to change that. And you can change that through your trade associations.
Yes, and we are an industry comprised of a lot of small businesses, right? And sometimes small businesses are not as politically active, right? And and so I think that's where the trade association really comes into play, right? Because you're our advocate.
We're there to be the voice of the business and the voice of the industry.
Yeah.
But we need your help to get the data to tell those stories.
Yeah, for sure. Have we ever I'm gonna ask you this question. I hope that I want to know what your thought is on this. So in the DoD just awarded all of their moving to a sole source, and it's called the Global Household Goods Contract. It's a $19 billion contract. It all started from a change.org petition started by military spouse Megan Harless. Shout out Megan. Megan's a friend of the show. Megan and a bunch of military spouses and military members started a change.org petition.
I did not know that that's how it started.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And they got a lot of signatures, e-signatures, electronic signatures. But I'm wondering, it's like, what if we did a change.org petition and everybody in global mobility? I mean, think about how many people we are. Think about all the movers, think about all the immigration paralegals and associates. Think about all of the corporate housing folks who, clean these units, set these units up, the furniture rental companies. I mean, think about how many people are involved in the aggregate.
So we need the signatures, but you need the stories too, Ben. So we need to
Sure.
create that compelling. We need to actually understand, like, how did this impact a particular person or a particular company?
Yeah, this
I mean, I like the thinking.
yeah, you like the thinking. There's a button there somewhere. She likes the thinking though. All right, we're on the right track. Vinny says, Lynn, this is great. Will there be a business case template that includes the reasoning, et cetera, that can be provided so we can engage the leaders of our company? So Vinny's at UPS.
That's
I mean, that's a big
great
company.
idea. So that's a great idea. And I will. So first of all, I am looking for people to serve as experts on our policy committees. So if you're interested in this issue, let us know. We'll put you in touch with our policy forum leaders, because that's the kind of input and thinking we need. I like the idea of a template. Certainly something
Yeah.
we could think about developing. And
Yeah. Vinny says this would help tremendously and it would be consistent documentation. I like it.
okay.
And
And we need that on immigration too. I mean, that's where we continue to try to say, like, all right, what's the impact if how many employees have you either had to offshore or you've had failed assignments because you just can't get the immigration piece right, either in the
Well,
US or abroad?
I would love to do that, especially on the moving expense tax deduction. I've seen firsthand what it does to programs. Vinny sounds like he's on board. So I think we get quite a coalition of folks from different disciplines and sectors.
And when you talk about Vinny and the corporate folks, a lot of these companies do have Washington offices, right? So I
Right.
think if
Yeah,
you need
UPS,
to
I'm
work
sure
here,
does,
right?
yeah.
So work your channels internally to let your government affairs people know that this is an issue. They don't need to know the details. They can contact us to figure out how they can help. But if it's really an issue for your company, alert your government affairs team.
Ooh, I like this. I think this really has legs. This is a really interesting topic that came up fairly recently. The Canadian real estate law prohibition. Talk to me about that.
So this is another one where I think our industry is not well enough known. So what happened is in Canada, Parliament passed a law that said, because they were trying to address housing unaffordability in Canada.
Sure.
And they said, okay, well, what part of what's driving it is, foreign companies coming in and buying up lots of property. So they passed a law that said, if you're a foreign national or a foreign company, you can't buy real estate in Canada for 2 years. Nobody ever considered the impact on kind of cross-border moves of executives.
Right.
And so anyways, it got passed. So we are reaching out. We're working with the Canadian Employee Relocation Council to try to educate their government about the impacts on our industry to see if we can get some sort of an exemption. So,
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that it will happen. This is another thing, though, that's supposed to sunset in 2 years. So it could be a painful 2 years and then it goes away. Or it could be a painful 2 years and then they say, this didn't really work. We're going to extend this law. And honestly, again, it goes back to public perception and politics, because if you read the US newspaper articles about this Canadian law and then you look at the comments are all like, wow, that's a good thing that Canada did. We should do the same thing in, California or Texas or other things.
I
Because
mean,
people, they're looking for a scapegoat.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. When
solution.
I see how many foreign corporations are buying up real estate here in Dallas, and all the homes that are being bought by institutional buyers and not by John and Jane Doe homeowner, and I look at, what the market's done. I mean, I'm sympathetic to that thought process, but I also realize the flip side of that coin is, if we weren't allowed to buy houses in other countries, or, what happens when we kind of have this nationalist and protectionist kind of viewpoint start to seep in, and it's really a race to the bottom, typically, is what I find when we kind of start acting in a scarcity mindset and start kind of othering people. But anyway, this is really interesting topic.
And there are countries like Switzerland doesn't allow foreign nationals to buy homes, but that doesn't, but that hasn't done anything, I don't think, for housing affordability in Switzerland, right?
Interesting.
Still a very expensive place to live. So.
Wow, covering a lot of ground here. Hit that like button, get in the comments. We only have a couple minutes, so if you have a question for Lynn, put it in there. Loving these comments. Y'all are just really sharp today. Keywords, institutional buyers, Corinne says. Yes. Yeah, institutional buyers. And I wonder if that's maybe the nuance, right? I mean, if it's an individual who's here on a visa, or, an executive of, I don't know. I mean,
running
maybe
a business, contribute in Canada, that seems to be a little bit different than an institutional buyer that, frankly, I think part of what they're trying to address is people buying property and then leaving it sit vacant.
Interesting. Corinne, great point. Sustainability, last but not least.
Yeah, so this is I am so passionate about this. So we convened last year a working group on environmental sustainability because we know that this is one of the biggest issues that, frankly, the whole world has to grapple with. And so, because we know that our industry has a big environmental footprint, we've got to come up with some standards, some metrics. We've reached out, happy to be partnering with Marianne at Chippa and Chuck over at
Let's go to the next slide
IAM
there.
and a couple of the others and other associations to try to create a roadmap for our industry to reduce its environmental impact.
Yeah, and I think this is, I mean, kudos to you, kudos to the other association leaders for coming together and realizing that, frankly, individually, we're not strong enough to make headway on all sorts of issues, whether it be the
Right.
moving expense deduction, whether it be saving the world, sustainability, right? But together we can make an impact, and I
Together,
think
yeah.
that's really cool.
I mean, these issues that we're facing as a world are so big and we can't solve them on our own. None of us can. And that's why we have to work with government. We have to work with civil society. We have to come together as business. And frankly, it's great to see competitors coming together to solve these common problems.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and we have common clientele, right?
Yep.
We're all being asked to kind of do the same thing, but kind of having to take different approaches to it. And the sustainability thing, I think also, I think you're also working on standardization, which goes towards sustainability, but it also goes
Right.
towards, some of the technological advances we want to do as an industry and the interoperability of systems and being able to communicate with each other. I mean, when I think about standardization, it's similar but different. But when they created the standardized ocean shipping container in 1948, right, the 40-foot ocean shipping container. I mean, before they were just loading cargo holds full of boxes and crates, and then all of a sudden now you got the standardized ocean shipping container, and then the shipping industry blew up, and worldwide commerce just went. And so when I think about the opportunity there and I look at the way that we're running all of our own businesses and a lot of us trying to go paperless, quote unquote, but a lot of us are still inundated with mountains of manila folders in our offices, if we're being completely honest. I think all of this standardization really kind of dovetails together, and it only is possible through working, across different associations.
And I think that, yeah, you're absolutely right. We have to work together. And I think it goes back again to us viewing ourselves as an industry and having others on the outside view us that way too.
Yeah, for sure. And Marianne actually is kind of getting in here and saying thanks both for a great discussion today. She said these coalition leaders are fantastic collaborators on this roadmap to impact environmental sustainability. Together, we have a much greater impact. Thanks, Lynn, for your leadership. You too, Chuck. Super cool. Let's see. We got a couple minutes here. This is somebody. I wish I had this. It says LinkedIn user. This is why Ben has his own show now. Smart man, my friend. Thank you very much. Very kind. I want to talk about conferences.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing. Like, I know all this other smart stuff and everything. Can we go to that? Let's talk about that here. We're going to skip through remote. Do we have time for remote work? We're going to skip remote.
I'll come back and
real
talk
quick.
about
Let's
that.
talk about upward mobility in the foundation.
So upward mobility, this is the initiative that has across our industry where we're trying to raise internships for students of color because we've got to diversify this industry. If you're interested in hosting a student, check out the website.
Yes. And I will tell you, Glomo has signed up for one intern through Upward Mobility, and we're just building out the program. It takes us all. We all have to work on it, and it also means that we all have to get involved locally with our universities and stuff and plug them in. But once they're plugged in and we do that hard work up front, other firms in our city and metro can take advantage of it. So please be an early adopter of this program. Shout out to Andrew Walker and Bob Rosing for really piloting this and everyone else. Next, looking here at the foundation, what's going on with the foundation?
So proud of the foundation.
Yeah,
so last
great
year
year.
They raised and gave away over $150,000.
Wow.
Which is 5 times more than they'd ever done before. So really
great
proud of the
job.
work they did.
Phenomenal. It was a great event.
Yeah.
I'm proud Glomo was a diamond sponsor. So we did our part there, and thanks for everybody else who joined us at the fabulous XS nightclub. There was a lot of fun. I think I twisted my ankle dancing that night.
Oh no.
It was bittersweet. But I'm going to rest up.
You'll be rest up. You'll be ready for this year.
for Boston, and we're going to be ready to go. Next slide here. Oh, this was a cool one here. Real quick on this rail strike.
So the rail strike. So this is a great example of how we need to work together as an industry. I can't be the eyes and the ears for everybody. You all are out there. You know what's happening. And so I had a member call me in December and say, "Hey, what are you doing about the rail strike?" And I'm like,
And
"Well,"
you're like, what?
I'm like,
What
"What?
rail
I've
strike?
I've heard about it, but I hadn't thought about it."
Right.
And really, what he said is, "Look, we're just getting household goods moving again on a more normal schedule. If there's a railway strike, it's going to throw everything off again." And so we reached out to our industry, our partners at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and found out that they had a coalition of 400 associations that were sending a letter up to Congress to say, "Congress, President Biden, you need to do something about this." And they did. So it's a great example of how we can be effective. But sometimes it just requires somebody bring it to our attention.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so definitely reach out. How do people bring these things to your attention, Lynn? What's the
Send
best
me an
channel?
email.
Send Lynn
Honestly,
an email.
email's the best way. LinkedIn, I mean, I don't check that off. I don't check as often as I should.
No offense to everybody watching on LinkedIn
Sorry.
today. No, just kidding.
Email gets it right in front of me, or
Love
give
it.
me a phone call.
Love it. And going back to real quick, upward mobility, Chris Pardo saying, yeah, on upward mobility, do it. Evan Miller, shout out to you and everyone who worked on the foundation, Zeke Oaks, Bob Portali, the whole committee that worked on that.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
I mean, Bob and Evan and Zeke really spearheaded. It was amazing.
Yeah, tremendous job, y'all. Oh, and if you want to put a teaser in there, Evan, for Boston, if you know what's going to happen, you feel free to do that in the
There will
comments
be an
there.
event. I can tell you that.
Nice.
We'll let you know where.
Let's see here. Do we got another one here? Let's talk. Here we go. We made y'all wait. We made y'all wait an hour for this, but let's talk about conferences. Lynn, what do we got on the slate this year?
So obviously GWS in October in Boston. It's going to be a great event. A lot of people are excited about it, but we're going back into other in-person events this year. So
Very
in the
cool.
spring, we're going to try something new. On May 10th, we're going to host Mobility Day. And what this means is we're going to have a series of smaller events spread out across the country. We have Chicago and DC confirmed, and I'm working on a few other locations.
I
So
think
stay
Dallas
tuned.
would be a great host city for this virtual conference. So what does Mobility Day mean? Like, what's the concept there?
So the concept is that we have across the country, we have local networking, all kind of centered around the same, around a theme and a topic about mobility. And I mean, ultimately, what can we do? Maybe we have it internationally, right? So that we start to build recognition that we exist as an industry.
Yeah, I know Jana down in Brazil would love to work on that as well. Yeah, that'd be super cool. So like a bunch of concurrent kind of celebrations and networking events.
Exactly.
And very cool. Very cool. I like it. May 11th, you said?
May 10th.
May 10th. May 10th. All right. And then so we got Boston, which is October 17th through the 20th, which was also the host city for the last pre-COVID GWS.
It was, yes.
Wow. Think about that, y'all. Wow. And then we got some other stuff going on.
We do.
Too.
So we have we are hosting events in Brazil and Singapore.
Wow.
Still confirming the dates and locations for those, but that will happen in August and September. So we're back. You know, I feel like the world's reopened and we're going back in. And then we're doing some exciting virtual events with one in particular I want to mention, which is we are co-hosting with Chippa an International Women's Day event. It's a virtual summit. It's for women and men who want to be allies to women, but really talking about how do you build your own board of directors? How do you advance your career, balancing work and family? Because I think it's fair to say that the burden still falls primarily on women in many families for that.
Yeah, that's great. Great point. Excellent program. I got to tell you, when I hear Brazil and I hear Singapore,
yeah,
I'm like, yes and yes. Do you think that these are going to be events that are going to be kind of marketed to and kind of welcoming us in the US, or are they going to be more centered on that region? I mean,
so the goal is to create events that meet the needs of that region, right?
Yep.
I don't want to take an American event and just plop it down in another location. So the topics will address what they're dealing with. The kind of the size and shape of the event will depend on what works in that region.
Well, and okay, for instance, right? Because I'm very selfishly thinking about myself right now. You all watch the show. You know how this goes. Is it going to be like Brazil? Would it be in Portuguese? Can I go down there? Do I get like the little earphones, like the UN? And I'm like, oh, okay, I got you. Like, cause I want to go,
Right.
but I like, I only speak one language. I'm American.
So to be determined, right? Because
TBD on
we're
that.
working on that. But I think we have to understand that sometimes we have to give
I
in
know,
on those things and
I
wear
have
those
to-
little
I
headphones.
know, I gotta wear the
It's,
headphones.
because that's what the rest of the world does all the time.
Fine, I'll wear the headphones. Vinny says packed year. You going to Brazil, Vinny? Are you going? Gonna get some picana, little caipirinha. What's going on, Vin? You coming down? Look at this. Vinny says, Ben, bring me. I can be your interpreter. All right, maybe. Yeah. Now would it be Sao Paulo? Would it be Rio?
It'll be Sao Paulo.
Yeah, pretty much that's kind of.
I mean, that's the business center in the
that's the
capital. Yep.
business. Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then Singapore in September. We're thinking
Probably September. Yep.
probably September. All
Yep.
right, man, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good time. Lynn, this has really been a lot of fun. Thank you for being so generous with your time. Thanks everyone who got in the comments. The comments were on fire. Y'all were amazing. Hit that like button. Send Lynn some love out here in Dallas. Lynn, you want to leave anybody with kind of maybe just a final thought, as we kind of go into 2023?
So Ben, first of all, thank you for hosting me today. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. I love being in Dallas all day today with NTRP and now with you. So it's been a great day. My last thought I'd say is get involved. If you want to help Worldwide ERC, we're creating more volunteer opportunities. We're looking for experts who want to serve kind of on policy committees, but we're also looking for people to help plan the foundation parties and events. So reach out to me, reach out to Michael Jackson on my team, and we'll find the right opportunities for you.
Yeah, I would echo that. Get involved.
Yeah.
I got involved early in my career with Worldwide ERC, and it was definitely a game changer for me. And some there's no shortage there's no shortage of opportunities to get involved. So highly recommend you do so. This is great. Everybody's getting a lot of love here. Lynn Gardner, Scott Chapman, everybody's just loving the show. Everybody loving you, Lynn. Teresa Pope, Balaji over here, Vinny, Sean. I mean, fantastic. Leave it in the comments. Leave Lynn a comment there. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We've got a lot of great shows and great content coming up for you over the next few weeks. We're generally going to be doing these Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here. We're going to be trying to do them live. So if you're coming through the Dallas area for an NTRP meeting, for a business meeting, whatever, hit us up. Check out Adam Sotelo, our super producer. He'll get you scheduled. And we'd love to have some kind of in-person conversations and broadcast those out to the industry. Thanks everybody for getting involved. Lynn, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Ben.
It's been a wonderful time. Take care, everybody. See you next time.